Hi, this is Sandy from Sandy Creates Cards and More, and we are going to make this A2 size card using the flower from the Daisy Delight stamp set. Let's begin. So this is the Daisy Delight stamp set. This has been around for a couple of years now, but it's really one of my favorite flower stamps, also one of my favorite sentiment stamps, though we're not using that today. We are going to use the sentiment from Best Birds. Also one of my favorite sets. I just love these birds. And we're using the It's a Good Day sentiment, which is actually one of my sister's favorite sayings. This set is retired, and we're just using it for one of the little bitty butterflies, they call it. Hopefully you have this set or have another butterfly stamp set that you can use to substitute, or you might, it's just optional. We're using the stitch shape framelits. I just love the stitching around these, and we're using the round ones. We'll be using actually the largest one and the second smallest one. I've actually started and pre-cut all of my sizes for you. We do have a Whisper White card base, which you're just taking a sheet of Whisper White, cutting it in half, scoring it, and folding. Our base mat will be Tranquil Tide, and that's a 5 1/4 by 4-inch sheet. We're going to be using strips from the Tranquil Textures DSP. This is two that I've just showed you. They're 3 1/4 inches by 3 3/4 inches, and we'll need 5 strips. We're going to have a banner in mint macaron for this card, and that is 4 1/2 by 2 inches wide. And I'm going to tell you a little bit more about how I cut the banners. We have 3 circles. Again, the largest is cut in Tranquil Tide, and that's the 2 7/8 about largest circle. And then 2 of the second smallest sizes, which are about 1 7/8. Just 1 in mint macaron, and again, just you can see the stitching much better on the lighter color, and 1 in Whisper White. And I've already stamped the sentiment for you. For the Daisy Delight flower, I have already cut one, but it's pretty easy stamp and punch. I have the Daisy stamp here, and you really are just sliding it in, taking some time just to line it up. And I'm looking at the edges around the flower to make sure that those are pretty even. And it's a pretty tough punch, but you can do it. Sorry. And then I also was going to do a daisy in the mint macaron, but I think the white gives you a little bit more contrast. But any colors, any sentiments, you can always substitute. This is more about the layout. And then we have our little bitty butterflies, which again is just a bitty butterfly stamp. No longer available, but hopefully you have something similar that you can use. And I've cut one of those out already, punched one. And Tranquil Tide ink. This is still the older style stamp pad. I am replacing them with the newer pads as needed, but we're all set with our stamping. I also wanted to tell you that one of the things that I do with stamp sets that I use a lot is when I'm stamping, and I'll do that with that mint macaron, I make extras. It's just nice and easy to be able to pull something right out when I'm ready to put a card together. So I store them in a little, actually food storage bag, all of one like flower in a bag, And then I do the same thing. I've done that with my butterflies here with the two different sizes. There's some tiny ones in there, and there's some of the larger ones in there, just in different colors. And boy, it's just so nice when I just need one little butterfly just to pull it out of the bag. To assemble our card, with the starting with the Tranquil Tide mat, and again, I've already done this ahead of time, but I centered this on my work pad here. I can find the middle of the card, and I actually use a T-ruler to help me line and get a nice straight line where I want to set those pieces. So I set my T-ruler with just the margin that I want. And when I'm taking those strips, I start by placing one in the top position, placing one in the bottom position. Then I place my center piece because it's easy to center once I have my card lined up well right here, filling in the two strips in between. And again, that helps me to get a nice even spacing between these strips. And so here's my card base with my pieces on it. And so we're pretty much set to assemble the rest of the card. We want to take our two daisies and just going to put a little dab of glue. That might be a little bit more glue than I need, and so I just tap it off if I think it's onto a corner of my mat here. And you're just lining these up, separating the petals. That's why it's nice to work with your Tombow glue, because you can see you've got some time to make some adjustments. And when you have it just where you think you want it, hold it for a couple seconds, and then set it down to dry before you move it again by mistake. So we'll set that aside for now. I wanted to show you how I do my banners. And when I'm working in a card, I try to keep these banners in the width that will fit into my triple banner punch. This was a 2-inch piece of cardstock in the mint macaron. I'll show you as if I'm doing it on the other end, but of course I'm not going to cut it. So you slide that in. And I don't like to waste paper, so I slide it just past. I don't slide it all the way to the end. I slide it just past the cut. And you will see what a nice flag cut that will put when I punch that out. So once I cut my piece extra long, longer than I need it, I usually cut this. For this case, I want the piece to end up being 4.5 inches. And I cut it to 5. Gives me a little bit that's going to be cut off the end. And then I trim it to length. And then we're going to apply that right there. So let's go ahead and stick that down. I try to center it pretty well between the top and bottom edges. And I'm also sighting right along the side here to make sure I have it lined up right. Now that that daisy has dried in position, I'm going to take that, I just, with my fingers, slightly curl the petals up. I've seen it done with a pencil or something round, but your fingers work just as well. And I'm going to pop this up just in the center. So you only need one dimensional in the middle. And do your best to I'll line that up in the center, but it's pretty forgiving. Here we go. Before I attach them to the card base, I want to sort of lay out my circles. Now the mint macaron circle will be glued first. And I just want to get a good feel for what placement I want. I do let the larger circle on my sample overlaps a little bit. And they're placed in this order. But the most important thing, of course, is making sure that you're not covering your sentiment. So that's kind of why I like to do a trial run. And I'll move that in so we have a little bit of an edge on both sides. So once I've got them about where I want them, and again, this varies from card to card, then I'll go ahead, pick up these bottom two, get my glue back out, and I'll take a look at where that's set. It's kind of centered right there. Put some glue on it, and go ahead and set that one down. Now, because that is nice and easy to move around, and because I don't want to, have to move it once it's dry, I think I like that placement. So now I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to slide this down a little bit. Again, that's why we do the greeting last. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put some glue on the back of that and put that in place. And I'm leaving a little, no, actually I can go right over. Again, whatever looks good to you is going to work out just fine. Yeah, and I think we'll go ahead and put the glue on the back of our smaller Whisper White circle. Looks like it's almost time for a new glue. We're going to slide that in between. Make sure it's pretty straight. And press that in place. Now we've still got our little bitty butterfly, and whenever I put a butterfly in a card, just with my fingernail I sort of bend up the wings. Put a drop of glue just on the center, and we're going to place that. I'm going to place it right about there. That just fills a little bit of that space up. And again, you're never going to make two cards exactly alike, but that's okay as well. I am going to attach one of our faceted gems to the, about that, I didn't have my little pick, to the center of that daisy. And I just pick it up. Set it there in the center. Got a good press down. And then on this card, because I'd used the solid color here, I thought it needed brightening up a little bit. And I did set some white enamel dots on, which is what I used in the center there. But I switched it up here because I really thought it better to put the DSP paper in the front. It just gives it more color. So now that we're all set, even though we've got dimensionals and gems on the front, still easy enough to get that tape on the back. And I'm left-handed, as you can see. I always line my card up by looking at, as I set the card gently down, not putting it in place yet, and I look at these three sides to see that they're easy. Before I actually drop it, I take a second look now at all four sides and put it in place. And there we go. I think that's a beautiful card. I'm very partial to this Tranquil Tide paper, and I love the way it goes with mint macaron. So hopefully you'll try this out, and I'd love to see any cards that you make using this layout. Have a wonderful day.